You ever notice how sometimes the hardest battles we face aren't with the world around us, but with the storm brewing inside our own minds? It's like we carry around invisible weights, worries, grudges, fears, that cloud our judgment and weigh down our spirit. You have to recognize toxicity to even start freeing yourself from it. If you don't see what's poisoning your peace, how can you ever let it go? Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Think about that for a moment. How many times have you been tangled in anxiety or anger about things that haven't even happened, or might never happen? Our minds have this uncanny tendency to blow problems out of proportion, feeding off fears and assumptions that aren't grounded in the here and now. The first step toward clarity is to observe these reactions without letting them control you. This is where Stoic self-awareness becomes your greatest tool. Imagine yourself as a calm observer, sitting apart from the chaos within. You watch your thoughts and feelings rise and fall like waves, but you don't have to dive in or be swept away. This kind of mindful detachment is not about turning cold or indifferent. It's about recognizing what's within your control and what isn't. Epictetus famously taught that some things depend on us, while others do not. When you catch yourself caught up in toxic emotions or influences, the question to ask is this within my power to change, or am I wasting energy on things outside my control? Take relationships, for instance. We often cling to people or dynamics that drain us because of fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of change, fear of the unknown. But you got to set boundaries first, and that starts with seeing clearly what's healthy and what's harmful. A toxic friendship or partnership isn't always obvious at first glance. Sometimes it's subtle. Little insults disguised as jokes, constant criticism masked as concern, or the exhausting feeling you get after spending time with someone. If you don't pause and reflect, these can slowly erode your sense of self without you even realizing it. So how do you cultivate this kind of awareness? The Stoics encourage us to step back and watch our reactions with curiosity, not judgment. When you feel anger rising, instead of reacting immediately, ask yourself, why am I feeling this? Is this reaction helping me or hurting me? This doesn't mean suppressing emotions, but understanding their roots and their impact. It's like shining a light into a dark room. You can't fix what you don't see. There's a story about Epictetus that perfectly illustrates this power of inner control. Once, a student complained to him about being insulted by a passerby. Epictetus calmly replied, "Did that insult enter your mind willingly, or did you give it permission?" The point is simple but profound. External events don't harm us unless we let them. You have to recognize toxicity not just in others, but in how you accept or reject what happens around you. This kind of mental clarity is a practice, not a one-time achievement. It requires patience and honest reflection. Journaling can be a helpful tool here. Writing down your thoughts and feelings allows you to see patterns, recognize triggers, and detach from the immediacy of emotional reactions. Marcus Aurelius, another great Stoic, famously kept a journal we now call Meditations, where he constantly reminded himself to distinguish between what he could control and what he could not. Recognizing toxicity is also about looking beyond people to habits and environments. Maybe it's a job that drains your energy, or a social media feed that leaves you feeling anxious and inadequate. These are just as real as toxic relationships. When you observe how these things affect your mood and mindset, you gain the insight needed to make changes. Letting go begins with seeing clearly. I remember once feeling stuck in a work situation that was slowly poisoning my enthusiasm and self-worth. At first, I thought it was just stress, but after a few weeks of mindful reflection, I realized the environment was toxic. What helped most was stepping back mentally, reminding myself that the opinions and moods of others didn't have to dictate my own peace. I started refusing to engage in gossip or negativity and gave myself permission to focus on what I could control: my effort, my attitude, my responses. You have to recognize toxicity not only in the external world, but also inside your own mind. Sometimes, the harshest critic is the voice inside your head that never stops questioning your worth or stirring up doubt. Stoic awareness teaches us to challenge these internal voices too, asking whether their claims are true or just stories we've been telling ourselves. Are you holding on to resentment that only hurts you? Are you replaying old wounds that no longer serve your growth? By observing your mental landscape with kindness and curiosity, you begin to untangle the knots of toxic thoughts and feelings. This doesn't mean you will never feel pain or disappointment again, but you'll learn to respond with clarity rather than react with chaos. Inner peace takes practice, and it begins with this simple but powerful act of awareness. Letting go of what harms you is the first step toward freedom. It's not about running away from problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's about seeing things as they truly are, without the distortions of fear or desire, and choosing where to place your energy. The Stoics remind us that life is short and precious. Why waste it carrying burdens that don't belong to us? If you want calm, start by becoming the calm observer of your own mind. Watch your thoughts and feelings rise and fall, but don't grab onto every wave. You'll find that with each moment of mindful detachment, the fog begins to lift, and the path toward letting go becomes clearer. Remember, this clarity is the foundation on which all the other Stoic practices rest. Without it, acceptance, resilience, and virtue are much harder to cultivate. But once you've trained your mind to see toxicity for what it is, something external to your true self, you've taken a giant step toward reclaiming your peace. So, next time you feel overwhelmed or drained, pause and ask yourself, what am I holding on to that I don't need? What thoughts or attachments are clouding my judgment? You might be surprised how much freedom comes simply from looking clearly and choosing to let go. Now that we've begun to see clearly what's toxic in our lives, the next step is about acceptance and detachment. These aren't just fancy words for giving up or shutting down. In fact, they're powerful tools the Stoics use to release the grip of negativity and reclaim their peace. Epictetus, who was once a slave-turned-philosopher, taught a simple but revolutionary idea. Some things belong to us, and some things don't. Our thoughts, our choices, our actions, these are ours. But other people's opinions, events beyond our control, the unpredictable twists of life, these are not. When you start to truly accept this, it changes everything. Think about it. How often do you find yourself holding on to toxic people or situations because you're afraid of losing them? Maybe it's a friend who constantly drains your energy, or a job that wears you down, but you cling to them out of fear of loneliness, fear of change, fear of uncertainty. The Stoics would tell you, you got to set boundaries. You have to recognize toxicity and then deliberately choose what you will let affect your inner self. Acceptance here doesn't mean resigning to suffering or being passive. It means acknowledging reality without unnecessary resistance. It's a bit like the ancient practice of negative visualization. This might sound gloomy at first, imagining losing what you love, but it's actually liberating. By mentally preparing yourself for loss or hardship, you build resilience and reduce the shock if and when those things happen. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor-philosopher, often reminded himself that everything is fleeting. This perspective helped him maintain equanimity even while facing wars, betrayals, and personal losses. Imagine you're holding a heavy rock. If you cling to it tightly, it weighs you down and hurts your hand. But if you accept that it doesn't belong to you and choose to set it down, you free yourself instantly. The same goes for toxic attachments. They only hurt if you keep gripping them out of fear or desire. Epictetus gave a vivid example. If someone insults you, it's not the insult itself that harms you, but your judgment about it. You can either let it sting or let it slide. The choice is yours. This is the essence of emotional detachment. Not indifference, but freedom from being tossed around by every external event. Practicing this kind of detachment takes effort. It's a muscle you have to train daily. One way is through mindful reflection. When you feel upset or frustrated, pause and ask yourself, is this within my control? If not, why am I letting it disturb my peace? Over time, this habit rewires your reactions, making you less vulnerable to toxic influences. Letting go can be scary. There's comfort in the familiar, even if it's painful. That's why the Stoics emphasize virtue, qualities like courage and wisdom, to help us face these fears. Courage gives you the strength to release what harms you, while wisdom guides you in recognizing what's truly valuable. Marcus Aurelius's life offers a profound lesson here. Despite ruling an empire and facing constant challenges, he maintained calm by focusing on his own virtue and responses rather than external chaos. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This mindset is your anchor when toxicity tries to pull you under. You got to set boundaries, not just with others, but within yourself. Detach from the need for approval or control. Recognize that clinging to toxic people or situations often comes from misplaced desires or fears. Stoicism teaches us to relinquish those attachments, not because we don't care, but because we value our inner peace more. It's helpful to remember that acceptance isn't passive surrender. It's an active choice to focus your energy where it truly matters, on your own thoughts, actions, and values. When you stop trying to control what's outside, you open space to cultivate what's inside. This shift in focus is what frees you from toxicity. There's a story where Epictetus was asked about a man who had lost everything: his wealth, his health, even his freedom. Instead of despair, Epictetus replied, "What is gone, but you still have your reason, your character, your ability to choose how to respond. These no one can take from you." This radical acceptance is at the heart of releasing toxicity. When you hold on tightly to external things, you bind yourself to their fate. When you detach, you reclaim your sovereignty. Negative visualization can also prepare you emotionally for letting go. By imagining the loss of harmful attachments before it happens, you reduce the shock and pain. This doesn't mean you wish for loss, but that you build resilience. You learn to appreciate what you have without being enslaved by it. Try this exercise. Spend a few minutes each day imagining what your life would be like without a particular toxic person, habit, or situation. Notice your feelings without judgment. This practice trains your mind to accept change and prepares you for the freedom that comes from release. Remember, detachment doesn't mean you stop caring or become cold. It means you care wisely, without losing yourself. You can love and set boundaries simultaneously. This balance is key to living a life free from toxicity. If you want peace, start by releasing resistance to what you cannot change. Accept reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. This acceptance is the soil where true serenity grows. When you stop fighting the uncontrollable, you conserve your energy for what truly matters: your own virtue and growth. You have to recognize toxicity and then practice letting it go by accepting what is out of your control. This is not a one-time event, but a daily exercise in self-mastery. As you cultivate this habit, you'll notice how your mind becomes lighter, your heart calmer, and your spirit freer. So next time you're caught in a toxic situation, ask yourself, am I resisting what I cannot control? Am I holding on out of fear or desire? Then, choose to accept and detach. It's a choice that leads to freedom. Inner peace takes practice, but with acceptance and detachment, you build a fortress no external negativity can breach. This is the path the Stoics walked, and it's the path you can walk too. Now that you've begun practicing acceptance and detachment, the journey toward lasting freedom from toxicity calls for something deeper: cultivating virtue and resilience. This is where the Stoic path really takes shape, not just letting go of what harms you, but building an inner fortress so strong that toxicity struggles to find a foothold. It's easy to fall into the trap of relying on external validation or comfort. We chase approval, possessions, or status, thinking these will secure our happiness. But the Stoics warn us that this is a slippery slope. When your peace depends on things outside your control, you open the door to recurring toxicity. That friend who once lifted you up can become a source of stress. That job that once felt fulfilling can start to drain you. The key is to anchor yourself in something unshakable: your own character. Stoicism teaches that virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance is the foundation of true freedom. These aren't lofty ideals reserved for philosophers, but practical qualities to cultivate every day. Wisdom helps you see what's truly good and bad. Courage gives you strength to face challenges. Justice grounds you in fairness and respect. Temperance keeps your desires in check. Together, they form the bedrock of resilience. Resilience here isn't just bouncing back from setbacks. It's a proactive, ongoing process of strengthening your mind and spirit so you can maintain your freedom no matter what life throws at you. You got to set boundaries, yes, but also build your inner defenses. This means consistent reflection and self-improvement. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations is a perfect example of this practice. He didn't just philosophize. He journaled daily, reminding himself of Stoic principles and checking his progress. This kind of self-examination is powerful. When you write down your thoughts, values, and challenges, you create a mirror for your soul. You begin to notice where you slip, where toxicity creeps in, and where your virtues shine. Choosing your community wisely is another crucial part of cultivating resilience. Surround yourself with people who embody these virtues, those who inspire you to grow rather than drain you. Toxic influences often thrive in environments where negativity or drama are normalized. By seeking out friendships and alliances rooted in respect, encouragement, and shared values, you reinforce your own commitment to living well. Imagine your mind as a garden. If you plant weeds, resentment, envy, fear, they'll choke your growth. But if you nurture seeds of virtue and resilience, you cultivate a landscape where peace and strength flourish. This takes time and patience, but every small effort adds up. Stoic resilience also means learning from setbacks instead of being defeated by them. Seneca, who faced exile and political intrigue, believed that adversity is not just an obstacle, but an opportunity for growth. He said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." When toxicity seeps in, whether from external circumstances or internal struggles, you can choose to see it as a test and a teacher. This mindset transforms how you experience hardship. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What can I learn from this? How can I respond virtuously?" It's a shift from victimhood to agency, from reactivity to intentional living. You have to recognize toxicity in all its forms, but more importantly, you have to commit to an ongoing practice of cultivating virtue and resilience. Letting go of toxicity isn't a single event. It's a lifelong journey that requires daily attention and effort. This doesn't mean you'll be perfect or immune to pain. Even the Stoics struggled. But by embracing their teachings, you develop emotional discipline, a steady mind that isn't tossed about by every storm. You learn to navigate life's ups and downs with grace, maintaining your center even when external chaos rages. Inner peace takes practice, and one of the greatest gifts of Stoicism is the recognition that this practice is a lifelong commitment. You don't just let go and walk away. You build, nurture, and defend your inner citadel. This is where true freedom lies, not in the absence of challenges, but in the strength to face them with wisdom and courage. So, as you continue this path, remember, your virtue is your true wealth. Cultivate it daily through reflection, journaling, and purposeful living. Surround yourself with those who uplift you. Learn from setbacks and see them as opportunities to grow. By doing this, you create a life where toxicity has little room to thrive. You become not just someone who lets go, but someone who grows steadily, resiliently, and wisely. This is the heart of the Stoic way and the secret to lasting freedom.